Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos. Okay, go ahead. Say it. We're
I
recording
can't
now.
believe we've made it a year. I'm really freaking proud of us because
Man, I
I
know.
remember when we started this, someone very clearly saying, what if you don't do it for more than 12 weeks and then you've bought all the stuff or something like that? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do this for like forever. But inside I was like, what if we only do it for like 12 weeks and we buy all the stuff?
Yeah. I think that's like what we talked about. Like we have to at least commit to what, 12 weeks? Was it
I think
12
it was.
weeks?
I think we said we have to commit to this and
And see
yeah,
how it
and
works.
see how we do, how like the routine works. And we committed. I think that's the big
Mm-hmm.
thing is this is a hard stop in both of our calendars unless there's something uber important. Like we both
Mm-hmm.
know 9:30 Tuesday mornings, hard stop. My clients know 9:30 Tuesday mornings, hard stop. Like, no, you won't get a hold of me.
Yep.
I won't answer. So my vendors
Mm-hmm.
know that. Like, don't schedule me an inspection at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. I won't be there.
I won't
So
be there. Well, and the other thing too, even like if we do have those weird, you know, there's only been like what, 3 times that we've
yeah, it's been
like
very
rescheduled?
minimal where we have been like,
Yeah.
ugh. But it's always
And
been something that is far more important than this. Like you had a kid's school trip. Okay, we bumped it to,
mhm.
like, 2 days later to give you time to do that. Um, I think
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, even if we miss it, like we're not like, oh yeah, like it's all right. We skipped a
right,
week. Like we double record the week before, or throw in an extra
right,
day
like, we've
somewhere.
never
Like
missed
we,
posting an
I know it's never
episode.
miss a Monday, but we've never missed
We've
a
never missed Tuesday.
Tuesday. You
There
know.
has been one time where we had an emergency reschedule, and it was my fault. It wasn't my fault, I had no control, but my stepdad showed up
You sure
unexpectedly,
did.
and for the
But that was such a good
It was,
reason, you know,
it was,
surprise.
and for those of you who don't know, like, obviously you all know we live in North Carolina. My stepdad lives in upstate New York. It's a 12-hour drive to get here, and he
Mhm,
just showed up at, like, 8:45 one morning unannounced, had driven through the night, and I was
mhm.
like, "Brenna, I can't record right now."
I have
Because he
company.
also showed up with, like, he has a Mastiff Lab mix and a Weimaraner, and he hadn't slept in, like, 24 hours, so he was passed out in my bedroom, and I had to try and wrangle all 3 dogs
3
and the
dogs.
2 cats at the
Yeah.
time, and I was like, "Oh." So yeah, otherwise,
This is
we've
so much
done
fun.
really well. I'm really, really proud of us. So if you're listening, if you've gotten through this first, 2 minutes of us blubbering, this is our one-year recap. This episode, we're gonna talk about things like highlights from the past year, things we might change, some behind the scenes stuff, which I guess we just kinda gave you a peek at, um, and just talk about how this first year in podcasting is gone. And I guess this means, and maybe we need to, like, cut this part out, but I guess this means we are officially moving into season 2. We need to, when
Ooh.
we upload things, mark things, I guess, now as season 2. We are
Season 2.
technically in our 2nd year. Um, wow.
How
Wow.
crazy is that?
Yeah, didn't think that would happen. Did not think that would happen. So,
I mean, I hope. Like, I've enjoyed it. I think
yes.
well, I mean, I don't know how you wanna because I was just gonna say, if we had continued, like, trying because when we first started, we were both traveling an hour, give or
Yes.
take, depending on those roads, to go record in person, and I honestly, if we had kept that up, I don't think that we would
No.
have
So
made
I
it a
think
year because it like, again, an hour there, an hour back, plus whatever time we spend recording, in addition to the editing, the post, like, all of that stuff, it just chewed up so
I
much
agree, and
time.
I think that's kinda where we should start this, is what are the challenges and the lessons we've learned this year? And that was on my list as I was thinking through this yesterday when came up with this list. That was mine, and I agree. If we had continued to have to drive all the way there, And for all the way there, guys, for reference, we had, my former team has an office space. They had a room we were set up in to record in, and, it was an hour at least commute if there wasn't traffic for both of us, and then by the time we would get everything set up and record for another hour, I mean, it was half a day to get this done, and now thankfully to Brenna, you did some digging and found Squadcast, and we record on that remotely now, which is even amazing because when we have guests, it makes it easy too. Like, we can talk to people all over the
Yes.
world eventually. So,
Yeah.
um,
Listen, I loved the idea of having like our podcast room and how cutesy it was going to be and all of that stuff. And we love like that building. I
love
love,
that
but
house.
it's an older building too. So to have a podcast room, you have to have like the echoey. Like it's an older house, so the recording quality of the first few episodes, like you can definitely hear it. You can hear some of the road noise and things like
Yep.
that, and it's just like it wasn't ideal for us. And like you said, like I just kept saying like I have to be out of here at like 1:15 at the latest. Like we would get there at like 9. I have to be out of here by like 1:15 so I can pick up my be in time to
Right.
pick up my kids because traffic is so unpredictable on 150. And if you're local, I mean, you know.
Right.
That's
Right.
just how that works. But I enjoyed like getting having a reason to get out of the house and go do that. But it would have eaten up so much, and in real estate, in any business, time is money,
Yes.
so
Well, and
that's
that
just
office is
a whole day
right,
crossed
and
off.
that office was also in a market that neither of us work heavily. So it was pulling us
Mhm.
away from our core business. I think if we ever were to go back into a studio setting, we would find
It would be
something
on this side.
yeah, this side of the lake, like, I could see, like, a Lincolnton that's right between us,
Mhm.
or maybe not maybe Cheryl's Ford, that's kind of out of the way for both of us still,
A
but,
little far, yeah.
um,
Lincolnton, Maiden, those little, like, in between
yeah,
areas.
that's I could see us doing that, but honestly, for right now, um
This is so nice because of say, we kind of, uh, troubleshooted some things, but as far as recording quality, the sound, the video, because we wanted to have some able to do, like, some clips, and I know we haven't
I
done a lot
know,
of those
I
lately.
need to get back into our Google Drive, that's on me. I just
But that's something too that, like, it's one of those things as you grow, I think more comes of it, but, like, it's not a necessity, like, we have the people that are listening to the podcast, and for me, my podcasts are all in the car,
right,
it's while I'm waiting in the car rider line or while I'm running to pick up groceries, those kinds of things, it's not and don't get me wrong, like, when I'm scrolling through Instagram or Facebook and there's, like, a snippet of somebody's podcast, like, I like the reels, like, I do, but I don't think that it's a decision maker whether or not I listen to that
right,
podcast, you
I
know what I
think
mean?
it's more, in my opinion, a marketing thing. It gets
Mhm.
awareness, and it's gonna bring us people listening who are not my mom. Hi, mom. I know you're listening. My mom listens to us every week. I love her.
My mom listens too, and I'm like, "Mom, like, you what do you mean?" I mean, there are some helpful because she sells Young Living oils. She does, like, Raindrop, Vitaflex, all of those super
Mhm.
health and wellness things. So there's some business-related topics that she's like, "Oh my gosh, this was great." And I'm like, "But all the real estate ones?" I don't know if she listens to
So,
all of them, but I know she's
my
listened.
mom does, and it's funny because she'll call me and we'll be talking about things just, "On your podcast today, you talked about this, and now I understand it better. I definitely don't wanna be a realtor." And I'm like, "Okay." But she's like, "But now it makes me understand why you do some of the things you do," because sometimes I was like, "Why are you putting money into that? Why is
Mhm.
that a priority?" And I was like, "Okay." So now I kinda want my sister to listen to be like, "Hey." But anyway, so those yeah, we've grown a lot. We've grown a lot.
Mhm.
What okay, so what was
Tell me what your favorite episode was.
oh,
Mhm.
hmm,
'Cause we've had a lot of episodes.
yeah. This one's hard, and this one you're gonna be like, "Really?" My favorite episode's the episode about Mike.
That was a
It
good
was a
one.
good
That
one.
was a hard
It
one.
was a hard one. It was, I think, our most important episode. Um,
Impactful.
yeah, and it just as hard of a topic that was to talk about, and guys, if you haven't listened to it, I'm referring to our episode. I think it's titled Tomorrow Looks Good on You. Trigger warning,
Mhm.
it is about suicide and mental health. Um, but I think that's the most impactful one. I can give you business tips all day. You can grow the
Yeah.
biggest, most beautiful business and be rich and successful. But if you aren't in touch with your mental health, then none of that matters. So that's, and I know that's kind of deep and heavy, but
That
yeah,
is
that's
true.
my favorite episode.
Mhm. Because I just talked to a family member of mine who's going through some stuff. I'm like, listen, like the problem is, and it's not as much of a stigma as it used to be, but like mental health is a
Yes.
conversation, but it still needs to be a bigger conversation because people are embarrassed about it because they're like, there's no reason why I should feel unhappy or sad or depressed. Like if you've dealt with depression or anxiety or anything like that, like some days like you just wake up for no rhyme or reason and you're like, I hate it
Yep.
here.
Yep. Ross McCullough made a post
So,
about that a couple weeks ago. They said something along the lines of like, some days you wake up and you want to take the world by the balls, and some days you just don't want to get out of bed. And I
hmm
felt that. And that was in the middle of
it's
everything. And
weird.
I was like, yeah,
hmm Yeah,
absolutely.
it's weird because my husband, like, I swear to God, he's never been sad a day in his life. Like, he just doesn't
Right.
get it
That's
because he's just like, I mean, you choose to be happy. Like, you either have a good day or you don't, but that's a decision that you make. And I was like, God, you're so cute.
well, and that's my mom too. My mom, like, she understands mental health is a thing. Thankfully, she's,
Mhm.
as far as I know, has never truly struggled with it. She had a divorce theme song. She made me buy the uh Chubba Wubba Tum Thump, whatever that album is back in the day, because she had heard it on the radio. She's like, "That's I get knocked down and I get up again." And I was like, "Okay." Um,
Okay, mom, way to
but
go.
there are some people who thankfully have never struggled with that, and that's,
hmm
I mean, I'm thankful for them, but
Happy for you.
right, it is something that affects more people than I think people realize, and so if I
Yeah.
can save one person with that episode, then that episode is worth it. So,
My favorite would probably, and this was a while back, I think it was early this spring that we did it, the interview with Miranda Whitley.
yes. Can I just tell you
And
I had
I
a dream
say
about
that,
her the other day?
oh, that's weird. I'm going to tag her in this and be like, hey, Miranda, you should ask Alyssa
It was
what's
so
what's
weird.
going on up in there.
So weird.
But no, so that it was early on in the year, right around tax season, which was great. We had just read Profit First, and I immediately implemented all of the Profit First strategies as far as like handling commission and setting money specifically aside for things like, your profit, your marketing, your um, taxes, all of that stuff. Because I'm a very visual person, so knowing exactly what I have allocated for certain things has been a game changer this year. So, and I don't know if I ever would have pulled the trigger to do it. So, that was for me. I enjoyed the episode. She's
She is.
hilarious. She's very down to earth. Her business, they just hired more people. Their business is growing, which is fantastic. Um, but I think her conversation, because she was just like so relatable, that I was like, oh my gosh, she also started a small business and did this, and it worked out really well for her. Ergo, I'm gonna do it now too. So, and I've followed that since whatever it was,
Right.
March or April when
I
we
need
did
to
that.
buy the book and read it again because Mabel ate it.
Ate it.
And my goal, I keep saying this, but my goal is truly like January 1st, it'll be set up. Like there's just been too
Yeah.
much this year to try and do that, but I know the holidays are coming. So,
Yeah, it's made a huge difference. I have
yeah.
to tell you. I love it.
Okay, so what you think the funniest or most expected moment during our recordings?
The funniest, well, the ones that we like edit out. Are you talking about those ones?
Right?
I think the funniest one was I really think I cut it out. I don't remember. I have to go
Oh.
back and look. But we were doing a quickie and it turned into 45 minutes and I was like, "Don't you wish that all quickies
You shoulda
ended
left
up like
that
this?"
in. That was a good one.
I think I might have because like it was just funny. It was real life. So that was the fun. Like we just say so many things that I'm just like, I don't know if we need to leave that out there for the world to listen to. But that was
That
funny.
was funny.
I enjoyed that.
That was funny. I think mine was I think your daughter was home sick from school.
Oh my god.
And we both had our heads down doing something because we're having like a oh, you were trying to get a hold of the doctor's office. And so you were looking
Mhm,
down
because she was
and
homesick.
I was
Oh,
like,
straight
right,
Annabelle.
I was doing something and I looked up and there's just a child standing behind you and I was like, there's a child." And you look up, you're like, "Ugh." That was my favorite because I was like,
Oh,
because
yeah,
I've never met your kids.
those
I've
are good
never met
ones
your
too.
husband other than through this."
Mhm.
And I was like,
Him peeking his head
right, I
in,
was like,
yeah.
there's a kid behind," and I don't think you had your
Uh-huh.
headphones on, so you couldn't hear me. I was like,
Uh-uh.
"Ah."
So I look up into my screen and yeah, there's and you have to imagine, like, she's fevery,
Yeah.
sick, pale, and just, like, looks like a ghost in the back of my screen. Yeah, that was
That was
funny.
fun, that was
Mhm.
my favorite. I mean, we have the classic Roxanne and Mabel and Oliver walking across the screens, but that
Yep.
was
Always.
that was my favorite. Um, okay, you pick the next one.
Mhm. Okay, I don't know. Do we wanna go over, like, how this has changed, like, the market changes? Because I know, like, it's kinda hard hard because we were when we started last year, we were right in the middle of interest rates starting to go up
Yes.
again.
I also think the market has changed because I remember when we started this last year, I had just gone to Rise and
Mhm.
or was going to because we did a Rise recap last year, and I
Yep.
remember Tamir saying that, "Buckle up, the next 6 months are gonna be like a desert, like, it's gonna be dry."
Mhm.
So I didn't go get a car payment. I bought a car cash, rode that thing until recently. I mean, it's still a great car, but that has shifted. I will say the first since October, the 6 months after that, whatever that is, there was a drought, and I noticed it in my business. But since
Mhm.
then, it's been steady, 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 consistent, um, all year. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've had consistent business. I just think that, like, the time that people are taking to move forward with either a listing or even buyers, they're taking more because they're able to take more time to make decisions
yeah,
now, that the churn on getting those new clients from, onboarding to closing is longer than it has been.
yep, I agree. I agree. What is one piece of advice you'd give new realtors or a podcaster? Either one or both. Someone first
I
getting
was gonna say
into
that's
either one of these.
wildly different. Why podcasters, get Squadcast for sure. Invest in the editing software
Which one do you use
for
again?
sure. Um, oh god, I knew you were gonna ask me
It's
that.
okay if you don't know.
Final Cut Pro.
Final Cut Pro?
Mhm.
That's the Apple one, right?
Yep. And it was like I think it was like $400, but it's one of those you either pay for one that is like a monthly subscription, right? So
Right,
if you use it for more than a year, you end up paying because if it's 40 or $50 a month, you end up paying more than
right,
that. If we made it a year, it was paid for, you know? So it's paid
right,
for
and
now.
you use that for our video and our audio?
Mhm. Yep.
Nice.
Yep, love that. And then new realtors, honestly, just talk to people. It's not as complicated as, it's a lot of work, but you can't get business just scrolling through
Nope.
Facebook. You can,
Right.
but not very
No.
good. You need to put yourself out there. You need to have conversations. You need to pick up the phone. You need to go to the event, all of
Well,
those things. Because the more people interact with you and see your face and things like that, that's where community is built. That's where business is built, especially if you're in smaller towns like we
yes,
are.
and I will say I got my first listing from scrolling Facebook, but it's because I pushed a conversation. I scrolled, I
Mhm.
saw something, I sent a message. So, yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. I think that's the best advice. If you don't have the money to pay for ads, you need to be talking to people, whether it's through social media or at events and networking, volunteering, and make it known because that the question of, oh, what do you do for a living will always come up. It's the forward
Mhm.
questions, family, occupation, something in dreams. I don't remember what the R is right now. Oh, recreation. Like, what's your hobbies?
Yeah, what do you do for
Right,
fun?
which
That's
if you're a
right.
realtor, you probably don't have a hobby. But
I
I
want
know,
one.
right? I miss that. But, so I would absolutely agree with that. You need to be out, you need to talk to people. If you're
Mhm,
starting a podcast, the number one thing I would say, other than, like, all the technology stuff you mentioned, if you're picking a podcast partner, pick someone you know you can count on. I can absolutely count on Brenna. Absolutely. If you are or doing this alone or with someone, a set schedule. This is time blocked. This is sacred. This is not something that we push or reschedule easily or ever skip unless it's absolutely necessary. Um,
mhm.
it should be the same with a realtor. Like that repetitive nature, that consistency is what you need in a podcast and in your real estate business.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for both of them, just consistency. Whatever route you decide to use, whatever platform you decide to use, whatever, if you're going after FSBOs or buyers, like consistently doing that thing, it's the boring, repetitive stuff that, I mean, gets us
Mhm.
business.
Yep, that's exactly.
All right, Alyssa. So, what are our plans for the future? I know that you already mentioned season two,
Yes.
but man, I thought we were quitting. Are we done?
Are we done? Girl, I put money into
No.
a microphone.
Did you see your face?
So if I had to say, like, what my favorite outcome of this is, um, it's that you and I have become closer through this too. Like, we were
Oh, yeah.
friends, we were
Mhm.
colleagues, but now I would say you're one of my very good, like, work friends. Um,
Very close
yeah,
friends, yeah.
we talk about things other than work consistently, constantly.
Mhm.
Um, so we have some fun topics coming up. One of our next ones, we're gonna go over spooky stories of the last year. We did that last year. That's gonna be an annual episode of like, what's the scariest thing that happened? Um,
Mhm.
you're gonna win. Not that it's a
I win.
competition, but
We already
hands
know.
down, Brenna's gonna win this one. Um,
So come back
yeah,
next
come back
week
next week.
for spooky
I
stories.
have a lender that I would really like us to interview. She specializes in VA loans. And I
Mm,
think there's a lot of misinformation or misunderstanding out there about VA and FHA loans. I had an agent once tell me that my client's offer was riskier because they were going FHA. And I said, "That's
mhm,
riskier for who? The bank?" "No, for my client. They don't have a large down payment." I said, "That makes no sense." And I had to walk her through it,
mm-mm,
and her client still said no. And I was like, so I
mhm.
think I would like to focus on educating people about things like that. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say if I had to, so we had two interviews this year, one in the spring and one just recently with the Closing Girls, which also I did on board with them, and I've got two going
Yay.
with Emily, which we love her. You were right; she's phenomenal. But for me, I really enjoyed those episodes. I think that they're a super big value add without like us necessarily coming up with that
Right.
topic. I would love to see us do like increase that number. We did 2 this year. I would love to see 1 each quarter next year. Like for so your lender, if we I know somebody who is really good at like Google SEO,
Yes,
like that kind of thing. I think that that would be super cool to have just increase that number just a little bit. I'm not saying every other week, but do some more interviews with people like that. I think
I
that would be
agree.
cool.
I agree. And if you're listening and you have a topic idea, shoot us an email, shoot us a DM on Instagram, because we do
Mhm.
check those, and we will add it to the list because I definitely think there's a lot of stuff for us to still talk about. Um,
Oh yeah, and that's like I think that's the beauty about this too. So it's ever changing. There's always something new that we're learning, something new that's coming down the pipe, like those kinds of things. We're
yep.
always going to have something to talk
Yes,
about.
absolutely. Well, there you have it, y'all. That is our 1 year
Yeah.
recap. And I think more than anything, like, obviously, I'm thankful for this podcast and I'm thankful for my friendship with you, Brenna, and our business is growing. But I'm also thankful for our listeners and our guests. Like, they've
Mm,
all been awesome. And we've had a lot of people reach out. And I'm thankful for Heather putting this idea in our brain. Because I
yeah,
don't know that we would have come to this if she hadn't said, "Hey, I think you should do
you should do
a
this
podcast."
next week.
Right? Like, "Are you ready? Let's go." And we were like, "What?"
Yeah, let's do it.
Um,
No, it's been great. It's been a ride, and I think that like you said, like even our friendship as a part of that has been a huge thing, and having the extra layer of accountability and say everybody just showing up every week and listening, because I think I would be a little sad to like upload an episode and see that it got 0
Right?
downloads. So that has never happened.
Thankfully.
Every episode we have people that are listening all over the country, which is super
That
cool
is
to me
super
too.
cool. That is
So,
neat. I'm gonna have to look at those stats and
but
see where our people are and work on our social media and some SEO. We need to get that SEO guest in
yeah,
here. Um,
and get us some more listeners.
yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's our
Well,
year.
and thank you everyone, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys. We just finished another episode of Contracts and Chaos, but believe me, the chaos does not stop here. So check out the show notes for our email address and where to follow us on socials, and we will see you next week.